My Life in Letters. We are sitting down today with, I'll be straight up, dude. One of my childhood graffiti, just like superheroes: Spie, TMC, TDK, FC, IRIE Posse. For those of us that grew up in the Bay Area, you knew who Spy was early in the graph scene, and not just because of who he partnered with or where he came from, but the way that you did it, man. So I can't thank you enough for carving out some time to sit down and talk with us. It's a real honor. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's quite honorable, and I appreciate it. I appreciate love it.
And if you could tell us where you grew up.
Yeah, born and raised in San Francisco. As a young child, I was growing up like in Chinatown, North Beach area. So I was, of course, just exposed to wherever you're at. But as I got into school, I started going to school in Lakeview. I was like going cross city, on the south side of the city, and but then family moved out to the Excelsior area, and that's where my home base was.
In the Excelsior, okay. What year did you move to the Excelsior?
Oh, I was like, I don't know, first grade or whatever,
Okay.
Yeah, mid to later 70s,
Yeah, and that's interesting already. Just the thought of you living in North Beach or in Chinatown and having to commute all the way across the city to go to school, like that's interesting. But then you guys moved to the Excelsior. Did your parents was there a reason to go out there?
Well, as we all know, San Francisco goes through a lot of changes, eras, as you so to speak. Really kind of pushed the movement to happen, whether they like it or not. But there was a lot of things going on with redevelopment in the 70s, mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
That whole rise of development. As a kid, I remember seeing Pier 39 burn down in the middle of the night. They rebuilt everything. That's some of my earliest memories of me living right there in North Beach.
When did Pier 39 burn down?
Oh, I was young.
So,
I must have been only 5 years old or something.
Mid 70s. Wow.
But they supported the development of that to happen. And neighborhoods and districts changed based on the new, gentrified look, demographic.
Sure. So you move out to the Excelsior in the late 70s, and I'm really curious about people's first experience with letter. Do you have a clear recollection of the first time that lettering presented itself to you and you maybe understood the power of it?
Yeah, I guess I could speak on that. Going back to even kindergarten, I was recently reminded that I went to a kindergarten named John Hancock.
Okay.
Elementary school. The big signature on the.
Yeah, one of our founding fathers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. But I always kind of trip off of that. You can create whatever metaphor and representation, but I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. I'm into letters, and when I was out starting off in the Excelsior district and just trying to understand the neighborhood, I then got exposed to a lot of the hit ups, the placas around the neighborhood and that kind of cholo lighting, little edgy stuff, and I picked up on it and I would try to emulate it. And,
oh, really? So early on, you saw that
back to
sort of...
second grade, I was like trying to do it myself. I covering my own space, like my own walls and dresser at the house, clothes dresser, trying to copy it. And,
what do you remember? What you might have been writing?
There was a local gang in the neighborhood of EGE, Barrio Grande Excelsior, and as a young child, I was pretty intimidated. I would just be in the back of the car with my parents when they passed by the park, and I would see all them hanging out. I never really went down there because I don't know, they had a little intimidating look about them. I need to be around that. But going through the local public schools in that neighborhood, of course, I was starting to meet all of their younger siblings.
Mm-hmm. And so
And
that was at John Hancock. You were meeting other kids.
Oh, this is a different school. I was up in the Excelsior at Cleveland Elementary. Yeah, and there was a couple cats that tried to emulate what their older siblings, or either that could have been brother, what you call it, uncles and aunties or whatever. But that was I guess the start of trying to do the badass little stuff as a kid.
And that's interesting, right? Because you're saying that you were like scared, or you were whatever. You had feelings when you would drive by the park and you would see them, yet you wanted to emulate that, and you started practicing that. Like, what was it? Do you think what drew you to it?
There was a curiosity. It was kind of like edgy, and it felt dangerous. There's something. The allure of it was kind of appealing. It was something out of my norm. I mean, the way I was brought up, I was, I was never hungry. My parents provided. I was the oldest siblings, and I didn't have much of my own family. I didn't have any cousins, or any close family member that was older than me to show me some ways. And so I just kind of I was stepping through the world with a lot of trepidation. I was like, hey, what's this all about? Or, just trying to be curious and trying to find it out.
Yeah.
And so when things are around you, you just kind of try to take a closer look. You try, lend an ear to it. You're like, oh, how's that work?
You come from a mixed race background.
Yeah.
And do you have an Asian parent?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Half Chinese.
Okay, yeah, and I ask because I think that there's like a lot of cultural context into certain groups, how they get into doing this thing of writing their name on things. Like, I just have heard I know from growing up with a lot of all Asian friends that there was no way they could start doing graffiti. I'm half Japanese, and the Japanese side of my family, I don't think understood it, and my mom certainly didn't like it, my white mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I was curious also about like this VGE crew at the time. Was VGE, did they look like Latinos? Were they Filipino? Was it a mix?
I mean, yeah, I think for the most part they were mostly Latino, but there was other little sets and gangs in the neighborhood. I mean, the old demographic at Excelsior was European immigrant, and you had a lot of established white families, and the word on the street was like, oh, you don't go down to Crocker Park. There's that Nazi gang down there. They play some racist shit. Bikers up the street. And, I was assembling kind of understanding and hear these things, and oh wow, okay. It was a big mix. Excelsior was the biggest concentration of youth in San Francisco at that time. It was very diverse, very multi-ethnic. My classes were heavily Latino, Filipino, Islander, Black. All kinds, I mean, myself, being of mixed heritage, that comes definitely into the mix of the writing and the graph phenomenon. Because you pick a name, you're trying to make a name for yourself, but it's an identity type of roadway you're trying to make for yourself. You're trying to make sense of where do you fit in all of this.
Yeah, man, that's really well said. Yeah,
racialized. Classification kind of society world we live in, and where do you sit with it? How much, cultural, traditional stuff do you take on within your family that has then a whole bunch of different influences?
And I wonder for you, because were arts encouraged in the home when you were young?
Oh yeah. My mother is an artist, and so arts were encouraged.
Nice.
Yeah,
what did your mom make? What kind of art did she do?
Painter and ceramics.
So early on, we're talking now mid-'70s in the Excelsior, and you said that you're seeing gang graffiti and that you were interested in it. It was like, there was something scary about it. Had you thought at that point that there was a larger world to it all? Do you remember as a little kid having any kind of understanding about what this graffiti meant?
No, I really didn't at that time. Of course, now you're older and we can try to put it into a context.
But at that time, no.
Yeah, no, not at that time. It was just kind of like that was just what folks did. I don't know. And then as it progressed, and the whole hip hop phenomenon came on the scene. That was just very eye-catching itself too.
I'm sure. And before that, though, like in the 70s, late 70s in San Francisco, do you remember the first time you saw something graffiti that was not gang-related?
Well, I guess from my personal experience, what it starts to bring up for me is recognizing the political slogans and stuff that were put up around town about certain issues that were of the day,
Do you remember some of those slogans?
I do remember some of those. I mean, 'cause, my parents came out of the vibrant 60s, and they were very much active in the rebellion. And so that political activism certainly rubbed off on me. And
yeah, in fact, I just got to say, it's one of the things that I've always really dug about your work, man, is that there's almost always been a political angle to the work that you've done, and we'll touch on that more later, but I've always appreciated it. So, and so you were saying that your parents were politically active, and so that helped you take notice of that political slogan graffiti?
I mean, as it means of like, going out and doing stuff, meeting with people, or making signs, so-called decorating the town, wheat pasting posters, making flyers, that kind of thing was like pretty normal around the literature period. And then how to explore that in a bigger sense would be a banner drop, or it's like, we're going to go paint this on that wall, So, I mean, I was taking notice to this stuff, and there were some pretty large, political messages that were notable that I remembered. Just growing up around the San Francisco Bay Area, warehouse in Emeryville, where the mall is now, but right off of 580, and they had a large thing on the roof done by some communist revolutionary party, I think it was, and they did some huge, colorful mural about the revolution in Peru that was active. And
wow.
Character. I mean, these were huge slogans, but it had an image of like a mountain and a sun and a woman with a slingshot. And all this. I mean, it just embedded in my mind, like, whoa, that's pretty dope,
Wow. When did you think you saw that roof? When was that done?
Oh, I mean, when was that? I guess it was like 1980, 81 or something.
Nice.
I would say. Yeah,
that's so interesting, man, because I can just see that in your work, maybe even still today. So that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And so by 80 or 81, you must be getting close to being you're still in grade school, right? Or were you in junior high at that point, something like that?
I was still in grade school up until, I don't know, what is it, 82 or something.
Okay. And had you started doing any graffiti on your own yet, outside of your dresser or, inside your house?
No, I guess I could attribute, as far as chronologically, the year of like me really recognizing the hip hop and the art and the visual art form and the writing, and me experimenting with that, 84, later 83, maybe 84.
So in 83, 84, how did you get that first dose of hip hop?
My father always had music playing in the house, and was very hip to, he'd play the Gil Scott-Heron, and he'd play the Clash out of England, and he brought that record. You know, he brought Melly Mel's The Message. You know, when was that? 1980, something like that.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
The Grandmaster Flash. You know, and that was very instrumental of my like seeing the music and art, speaking a message with it, and so that was early on.
And had you yet seen any New York graffiti? Since you're starting to get New York music to you, had the Graph been able to, had you seen it yet?
I mean, I kind of noticed a little flicker when I watched the intro to Welcome Back, Kotter.
Haha, nice. Yeah,
or,
definitely.
You know, I was watching, you know, I loved the cartoon character Letterman on Electric Company, you know, PBS, you know.
Wow, I haven't thought of that.
Going to tall buildings, planting letters around the city. I love that shit. Yeah, at one point, I think it was like 82 or something like that. My mother was in New York and was called home and was talking to me from a subway station. And she was trying to explain to me visually what she was seeing coming through on the trains. And she was trying to say, yeah, there's all this art all over the trains. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. She said, this one's really great. It's like an image of a cartoon character, Bumblebee. It's like bright yellow and black, and it's on the side of this train. It's really great. And I was like, yeah, all right, okay. You know?
That's awesome.
I remember the conversation, but I couldn't quite grasp it.
Yeah, I mean, you were a little kid, right? It was probably hard to imagine that, but that's amazing. So you said that like your first understandings of like real hip hop started coming around '83, and
yeah, I mean, it was really breaking, man. It was the dance scene at the middle school was off the hook. I mean,
oh really? Okay, so there were a whole lot of other kids.
Like, the dance scene was really what came on the scene so much more before any other of those, you know, elements in hip hop. I mean, it was just ridiculous. There's so many breaking crews in between classes in the hallways. There's just like, you know, battles and break-offs. The school lost control and was basically had to hand it over to the students and closed up school early on Friday so that we can all get into the gymnasium to watch these like whole crews, 5-6-person routines. You know, I remember them doing like a 4-person helicopter. You know, all of them linked together doing a centipede across the floor, that kind of stuff. And then they finally had to shut it down because they said it was creating a fire hazard.
Did you b-boy? Did you dance?
I mean, I never got so good at that. I mean, I always say I didn't even graduate off my own kitchen linoleum at home. You know,
okay, yeah.
I just, you know, I give it a little shot, but I really wasn't there with it. But it was at that time that, you know, the art started picking up, and I started noticing some of my classmates start to draw it out. And then there was this one brother, this Latino cat. He might have been Puerto Rican. I don't know. He came from New York, and he came to school one day with a couple pictures of a couple of things he did on the train. Or at least that's what he said, you know.
He had flicks of New York City subways on him?
Yeah, I remember he had 2 photographs of like, and it was really just some quick little basic block letters on a train side, and like a 2-letter thing. I can't even quite remember, but it was very profound for us. We were all huddling overnight, and he was saying, "Yeah, we do this up in New York." I was like, "Whoa, that's a trip." You know, in my class, I had the legendary his name is Sly Stein. He's this Filipino brother from over the hill. He had some nice style, and then ODS crew. They're over in Portola Valley, and they hit some of the first walls over in that area, and they were in my class.
You said that dude Sly Stein. So that was a graffiti name, Sly Stein?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he was a Filipino cat. And I'm sorry, what did you say the other crew was?
ODS crew. I forget what it stood for. ODS.
Okay.
But it was Phrase. And Phrase is pretty established. I mean, historically, he was part of OP and OTC. I mean, I don't think he writes anymore. I think he still does art, you know. But but those two were pretty influential to me because they'd be sitting in class just drawing it out, and then I'd see them doing it, so I'd want to try to do my own and go home and
Yeah.
try it out.
Yeah. And do you remember like what kind of style that those guys had? Did it have a New York vibe, or did it feel more San Francisco?
I can't quite remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like kind of chunky, blocky stuff. So yeah, I guess it was like SF. But you remind you that this is before Subway Art came out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so those styles are just very unique,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so.
And that's how I was trying to find a name, I was, struggling with trying to find a name. I wanted a cool name, I wanted to break out. I wanted some way to become not so closed off, shy kid around the neighborhood.
And so, had you already been playing with any names on paper yet?
Yeah, I mean, what was I playing with? I don't know. At one point, I was like, oh, let me write the word jet.
Jet?
I did a couple sketches. Jet.
How'd you spell it? Y-E-T?
One was, I like the little, I was into like animals and stuff. I said, I'm gonna write praying mantis. Write mantis.
Nice.
So I played out those letters, and it was just like, well, it didn't quite little stick,
Well, mantis is kind of a dope tag. Mantis, I could see how that could be something. Yeah.
I was fine. I was reading the Mad comics and being kind of funny. I was a goofy kid. And I loved the Spy versus Spy, and that's where I got Spy.
Oh, really? Okay. And so
from Mad comics.
Nice. And so that, like, what year was that when this happened? Was this 83 still?
Yeah, 84, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And so you decided to write Spy. Did you spell it S-P-Y at the time?
Yeah.
And
that was
so, like, I'm always curious to hear about how a name sort of resonates with someone, Like, what was it other than, Spy versus Spy is cool? Was there something else about being a spy or spying things that seemed to, like, make sense to you and it, like, resonated with you?
From my family upbringing, being raised in a very, politically active household, and understanding that there are certain forces out there that would be looking a little carefully, looking a little more closer, right? Surveillance, spying,
Sure, yeah.
I mean, this is a part of my reality as a youngster, having to be aware that, 5-0 cops, FBI come to the door, you don't open the door.
Yeah.
Understanding that there's a little bit of understanding of what is their role in pertaining to keeping the power structure intact. How do we fit into that?
Yeah.
So so sometimes I could attribute what is the spy thing about? You've been being a little more quiet, secretive, anonymous, being careful. Even with my own heritage, traditionally for decades, understanding Asians or Chinese as being some part the enemy or the sneaky enemy.
Sure. Yeah.
That's American. That's American. It's a part of the folklore. Like, how do you understand who's a friend and who's not?
Yeah, man.
I mean, it gets into a bigger social dynamic, but I don't know. There's a playing of like different meaning you could put into a name or a word.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was something I wanted to stick with.
That's pretty amazing, though, too, man. It's amazing that you started pretty early with the name that you kept. A lot of guys that I talked to ran for at least a few years of like actively being out with another name until they came upon their name. So you came up on Spy before you'd ever gone out bombing, ever gone out really on a mission.
Yeah, Yeah, and
Hmm.
then at a certain point, I did understand that there was another spy out there. I don't know what part of town. I think it was down in the Mission or something. I think saw it hit up a couple times, but it wasn't anything that I took notice to that made me want to change it.
Hmm.
You know,
And so, can you
um,
just kind of walk us through it a little bit? Like in '84, now you have this name, and there's other guys that you know, like you mentioned, the ODS crew and Sly Stein. Did you let them know? You're like, yo, I'm Spy now, and I'm going to start doing this?
nah. I mean, I was pretty quiet about my own business.
Hmm.
I was pretty introvert in my ways. I
Sure.
wasn't a showboater in that sense. Like, yeah, I was still playing with how to break out and be looked at, without feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
These were BMX. I was just still trying to like lead the neighborhood. You know, trying to hit the better ball when we went out to play ball at the park. You
Nice.
know,
Yeah.
trying to do the slam dunk on the lowered basketball court. You know, did
Yeah.
I do it? You know what I'm saying? So
And so, just kind of tell us, like, what did you start doing? Did you draw a lot? Like early on, when you're trying to develop a style, did you put it all on paper, or did you have a spot where you could go and kind of play around?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I'm drawing paper. I had like a little sketchbook and stuff. I mean, going back into elementary school, I was really big into drawing
mm,
trains. Uh, uh, I loved model trains. I had my own model train set. I used to draw them and draw the cars. Of course, I didn't know what it meant to be painting on them, but
sure.
just drawing the whole car itself, or trucks, or military aircraft and boats. I was into like in industry and that kind of architectural drawing, that kind of stuff. I was into that.
What do you think drew
Yeah.
you to that? Like, what kind of interested you in drawing, vehicles or industrial kind
Um,
of equipment?
Maybe I could attribute that to like just movement and
Mm.
my father was a bus driver. He would drive the big buses. I would ride along with him ever since I was a young kid.
Oh, nice. Like he drove for Muni.
Oh, I drove from Muni for 33 years. So I was hip to the game of going to the yards with him, stepping on all that grease, even before I even knew what graffiti was. I'd find the
Nice.
worn spot on those roach coaches, and or I'd stand behind him as he was driving, and I would flip the lever for the coins to go in the box,
Yeah.
hand out transfers. I used to do that.
Okay, so so you always drew as a kid as well. So it wasn't uncommon for you to have a book already.
No,
When did you start to let other people know via either at your school or in your life that you were going to start doing graffiti and you were going to start using the name Spy? That happened.
but I thought I was so cool. It took these two little black and red marks-a-lots, and I was doing a little piece on the back of the bus, the 52 Excelsior, out on the seat. I couldn't even put up the nerve to get up on the window yet. But I was seeing there was a couple of people riding the bus looking at me do it. I was trying to hurry. I mean, it was a full-fledged like outline. I did the shadow around it and everything.
And then what? And then how'd it go? What happened next?
I guess going into high school, just needing to like carve my own space. When I did my first piece, I went into high school that wasn't a district high school. I was in a new area, new friends and people,
What school was it?
and School of the Arts, McAteer High School.
Oh, what? I'm a Soda graduate too. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was.
'94. But I started when it left McAteer and went behind San Francisco State. That's cool. I didn't know you went to Soda. Dope.
Yeah,
Um,
I did the first piece at McAteer.
so wait,
Yeah.
between when you came up on Spy in '84 and you painted that first piece at McAteer, was that '85? What year was that piece at McAteer?
Fall of '85.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm curious, like, what happened between the sketchbook and the piece? Like, were you drawing a lot? How'd you get the paint for that piece at McAteer?
Oh wow. Good question, man. I don't even remember. I might have just found some stuff laying in the basement. There's a bunch of stuff in the Bay.
I mean, I feel like I've seen flicks of that, and there's like several colors, right? Like you use like multiple
Oh,
colors.
yeah, I kind of planned it out. It was like, yellow and orange, red, the black and a white.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's very, very hot colors. I don't know what I used. I don't know where I got it. Somehow.
How did that
I
mission
don't.
go down though? Like, do you remember the night that you went to go paint that piece?
Oh yeah, super memorable. I felt so like entering into a new world for myself.
Yeah, can you tell us
I
about it?
mean,
Because were you like you're probably 13, 14, right? Freshman year.
oh yeah, I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out there in the middle of the night, pretty wet, damp, foggy night, cold, by myself, being kind of freaked out with all the little sounds and stuff, and raccoons walking around. It was just pretty surreal for me. It was super dark.
What time did you go out
And,
to do that?
Oh, God, I went out super late. I think it was like 4 in the morning or something.
Really? And so you
Wow.
just had to like sneak out of the house before anybody could know that you were gone?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was constantly doing that already. I had a paper route one night, and I would go out in the early mornings already on my
Ah,
bike.
nice.
So I was
Okay.
already roaming around the neighborhoods at times when people weren't up yet. And yeah, just the bike has always been a freedom for me to like get out and roam, get out of the neighborhood and see what's going on.
What I mean, you're a new student at McAteer. It's like you said, it's a new school, new like kind of students. How did you plot out that spot? Like, how did you say, okay, this is going to be it? Especially knowing that no one had ever painted those walls before, right? Like they're totally virgin walls. How did you decide to go there?
Yeah. It was just in the tennis court there. It just looked so juicy.
And you went solo too. Like I think that's kind of interesting too. That you, a 13-year-old
Yeah.
kid, you went on a solo mission. And
Yeah, solo missions are like, it brings back memories of other little adventures I've had just on solo tip.
there's something really nice about being out on the solo. I don't know also what it was like to be bombing Frisco in '85. That's a whole other thing. But it's interesting that you went solo. And so you said that you were kind of scared and reacting to every noise. How long were you at that wall painting that piece?
Oh, I remember trying to hurry, but then trying to not like be sloppy looking. So I don't know. Maybe it took me 45 minutes or something.
Nice. That's actually pretty fast. Was it all stock cap?
Oh yeah, I knew nothing about paint technology or caps or anything.
Mm-hmm. But dude, the style, man, was actually like when I look at it, I'm like, this is like pretty cool style, 85 or not. Like it was pretty cool. Who were you looking at to get the letter forms that you did that night?
I don't know. It was just some block letters, I think it was good for me. Now, in retrospect, I look at it like, yeah, I think everybody should start off doing some basic block letters and try to like, pick it apart and dissect it and put it back together. But yeah, I don't know. It looked good in my little sketchbook, so I figured I'd
Okay,
go for
so
it.
you had drawn it out. Did you, in your sketchbook, was it like a fully colored piece, so you knew which colors to use?
I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I kind of guess I methodically thought it out, planned it out.
And so, what was school like the next day? I mean, I presume a whole
Oh,
lot of
so
people.
that was the most interesting, right? Because I'm still like very much undercover kid, like nobody knows who this guy is, and I didn't know anybody else. So I kind of let the mystique of it just kind of permeate and carry on for a while. I think even by a couple weeks, I didn't even talk to anybody. I kind of hear a little talk here and there about it, of people wondering who did that, da-da-da-da.
Really?
And it felt good to me, I was like getting a little personal high off of it, like, yeah, that's my shit right there.
Yeah.
Right?
And no one buffed it. It ran for a while?
Well, see, now that really gets a little sticky here. So I finally busted out. Like I was on the bus going to school one morning, and there was some H&R heads on the bus who I always would see hitting up. It was either H&R or 30th Street Gang, like, getting up. I figured I'd join in the fray, that morning.
Okay.
You know, and I guess it was shock to them for them to see me because I used to just be sitting there watching them destroy the bus. And I figured, I bust out. I had a silver SG7 metallic pen, and I hit the window with it, and then they sat and looked at it like, oh shit, you're that dude, right? You did that thing up there in the tennis court. And I kind of like sheepishly kind of sat back down, just kind of nodded like, yeah. So I kind of outed myself at that point, right? And then kind of word kind of spread, and in my art class up there, I was shared art class with Twig. It was me and Twig. And he got word of it, and then he kind of like found out a little bit more of what made me tick. And so he sat next to me, and, you know, Twig got a little more competitive aspect to him.
Yeah, and you know, when I interviewed Scoo, he told me a lot about Twix. That Twig just had like the dope sketchbook, like really early on. So in '85, did he show you his black book at that point?
To get into SOTA, we had to do an application process, and I remember Twig when we were both in 8th grade, and in the interview process on the same day and the same hour, and his stuff was laid out next to my weak ass stuff. His stuff was on point. He had some incredible pencil drawings of like landscapes of the city and the Golden Gate Bridge and all this stuff. And I just remember looking at it like, damn, this guy's hella good. You know, that's young Twig, right? And so we ended up getting into school and being in the same class. And, you know, competitive by nature, it led to Twig going over my piece in the tennis courts. So, yeah, it was like kind of contentious there. He didn't think I was going to like confront him, and I really did. I didn't, you know. It was messed up, but I wasn't there in my mind to like fight over my shit or anything. Rarely said it in a bigger place, and he knows it. I've talked to him about it, and he's always like, "Oh man, I'm sorry I did that." And we're good, you know. Yeah, we're good friends. But at the time, you know, he was, you know, whatever was going on through his head, he figured he'd go over it. And he didn't have to. There was plenty of wall space. I guess he wanted to take the fame. What's interesting is that the piece that he went over me with is the one that's in the American Graffiti book.
Really? Wow.
It's a picture that Pregoff took of the,
yeah.
You know.
Wow, that's interesting. And did you say, so the piece ran for a few weeks before Twig went over it?
I think it's a few weeks, maybe it's a month or two. I don't know.
You know, Scoo tells a great story, man, that he actually used Twig's sketchbook as his portfolio to get into School of the Arts.
He did, yeah. Twig and I both had some influential aspect of helping Scoo out.
I'm sure he did, yeah.
Schooling.
That's awesome.
I remember me and Twig going to one of his community service meetings he had at Muni. That was an interesting day.
So, how did that go down? What was that?
I know Scoo had gotten popped or something, and he had to do some community service, and then he brought along me and Twig to like talk to this panel of people or something. It was a really interesting day. Yeah.
So let's keep it on 85. So now, I mean, you had mentioned that Twig sat next to you in art class, and you guys sort of became friends, even though there was this contentious thing because he painted over you. What happened next? Like, did you?
Oh well, we became pretty good allies, and we were drawing a lot. He was always a good character guy, drawing things in class, and he came up one day with the suggestion that I change my name from a Y to an IE. So I attribute Twig for respelling the name that I use today.
That's pretty dope. Did he say why? Did he tell you why?
No, he just kind of came up with a suggestion. I was like, oh, really? Oh, let me try it. All right, I'm open to that. I like that. Okay. Did
you do any more SPY pieces after that? Or was it just all SPIE from then on?
I didn't do that many SPY. I mean, my second piece was actually for a little crew that I had gotten into, around the time I was getting into high school. It was called KKW. It was just a little 3-person crew neighborhood thing. Creative Krylon writers.
Creative Krylon writers. Nice. Who else is in that crew?
Oh, who was in that? My homeboy Roberto from around the corner. Let's see, Coase and Rins. That's about it. It was just a little.
And so early on, that was your crew, KKW. So you were Spie, KKW.
Yeah.
And
then as I busted out as McAteer, then I started getting noticed, and I was asked by someone in the HCT crew if I wanted to be down with them.
Where was ACT from?
HCT was the original McAteer crew. Consisted of this brother named Drift, nice hand style. Flash, Divine, Jams was in it. PBC was Pretty Boy Charlie. There's a number of folks, Silent and Duster. We had kind of brother crew with this other crew called D&D, Deaf and Defiant. There was some cats out of like Lincoln High School and Lowell High School. So it was kind of homegrown, but it came out of McAteer, Diamond Heights.
Okay, and in '85, it's interesting that you were focused on PC. I mean, you had mentioned that you sketched that little piece on the seat of the Muni. Had you started bus hopping yet? Because I know that there was already an active scene on the Muni at this point. Were you getting ready to start catching tags on buses?
Yeah, I started catching tags on later '85, and then '86 was just the explosion. It was just demolished city for every bus going by.
So for people that don't know, can you just talk a little bit about '86 San Francisco, especially for New Yorkers or Europeans that have no idea about the scene back then? What was it like?
Well, imagine just walking onto a bus and just having the sun come through the windows, but because of all the different inks on the window, it looked like you were looking into a kaleidoscope. Okay. It was just like everything everywhere. Windows, panels, seats, outside the bus, up above the windows, people riding backwards. It was just, wide markers, paint pens. On the big 14 Mission buses, they had those large windows at that time. Folks were using some of the shoe polish mops with just the shoe polish in them, but then we go and get some food coloring, right, and squeeze the food coloring into the white shoe polish to make the color.
Nice.
It'd be like a foamy kind of pastel pink or green or yellow or whatever, blue, and it'd be nasty, go all over the window, but it was just for the ups of the day because this stuff was going to get washed off that night. But it was just like there's so much for the moment.
Buses were getting buffed on the same day. Like you would do a tag, but you knew that it was going to be gone the next day. So that was part of your thinking.
Within the next few days, and folks would be mobbing and just you have 10 to 20 kids who go on the bus and just strategize on how we're going to go hit it and then escape. Saying pardon me to someone mid-bus sitting there and reaching over their face, hold on a second, I got to get this window. And they're like, their mark is right in their face, like they're scooting back, and they're like, God, stop that stinky stuff,
Yeah.
All kinds of strategies, he's turning left right now. Driver's looking that way. Hit the ceiling.
Beyond the buses, what were the streets like? Because, you're talking about mobbing buses in '86 in the Mission, and there were a lot of riders. There were a lot of gangs. Can you tell us a little bit more about just what the scene was like in general for the city?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hitting Mission buses was like, the Broadway, Mm-hmm. I mean, during that time, if you were to go to Broadway, that was a big cruising area scene at the time. Lowriders and just people driving real slow up and down Broadway. But as bus hopping really got popular, and the younger kids who didn't have the cars. I mean, Mission was our Broadway. It was like to get up on the 14 Mission was the shit. and lining the streets of Mission, whatever open walls, the Alameda Street Bridge was like Hollywood right there. If you could hit that, because
Nice.
that's when the bus was driving by at like 30, 40 miles per hour. You could see people's names up big,
Nice. Do you also remember in that 86 time, like who were some of the people that were really, really putting it down that you were looking at and you wanted to be up like they were?
Oh, gosh. Now you're pecking away at my old, forgetful mind.
And if it doesn't have to be people that were up, but
I know. I mean, I guess there's an entry. I mean, of course, there was, Sprays was all city. He was a Super S,
mm-hmm.
and K-Sun crew. He was his partner at the time was P. Can't Stop Us Now crew. I mean, I was just saying crew names. There's OP, Overpower, OTC, RSD, Rock Shock Destruction. Of course, then there was GF, Graffiti Funk.
Mm-hmm.
Cab was the head of that. There's just like, huge groupings.
And were you still writing KKW at that point, or had you started to?
Oh, no, I was in that HCT crew. I was part of HCT.
Oh, that's
Here Comes
right.
Trouble. And I think, we kind of, I don't know, in a strange way, aligned ourselves with like the K-Sun crew. And K-Sun was kind of like the mid-city crew. You look at people, what schools they went to. The mid-city crew, meaning like, the 44, the 52 line, the 48 line. McAteer was the center of the city type of school. And you had all the heads from Hunters Point. You also had Mission heads. You had kids from the Haight and other areas kind of going to that school,
mm-hmm.
right? Richmond schools were like, the writers were from like Washington High School,
Mm-hmm.
or up further north was Galileo. Mission writers, O'Connell or Mission High, and then there's Daly City, folks from coming from top of the hill.
Yeah.
And it was almost like you could see crews being aligned with certain districts, And I think our crew, HCT, which had its base in Mission, Excelsior, Diamond Heights, was in some ways aligned with how K-Sun was like kind of spread out too, in that way. I always saw like OTC being much of a mission-based, area crew. OP definitely mission-based.
And also, were you, being that you were in HCT, did you guys, you said that you were kind of like aligned with K-Sun crew. Were there other crews that you were aligned with?
We would hang out. We would all hang out at Silver and Mission. That was the big writer's bench. And that was the big hangout spot. I guess at one point there was a beef with WR, not to be confused with RW. Yeah. WR was Wall Records. They're out more from Bayview. Mm-hmm. I guess there was a funk with our leader of our crew, Tricks, and there was a Tricks in their crew, and they had a fight. That was contentious or whatever.
But it sounds like 86.
WR kind of merged into MPC, Omen.
Oh, really?
Interesting. Part of that. And but yeah, it's really interesting to find out about these things. MPC is mostly Omen and Nate. Nate was out in the Sunset, but Omen was from the Bayview.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of big work at Crocker Amazon. That was the early days. I don't consider myself a first generation writer. I came later. I feel like a lot of TWS, Guess, certainly RW, Doug, and Ink was up in there. But a lot of TCA, Tough City artists like Swoop and Eazy-E, and there's a lot of TCA base with Excelsior and Visitation Valley and Manziel. Kids coming out of Woodrow Wilson High School.
With all of the bus hopping, was that taking any attention for you away from your piecing or from sketching letters, like just focusing on hand styles, or did you still keep a balance in what you focused on?
Yeah, I think it was kind of keeping a balance. I mean, for me, I love the art aspect of it. You know, I had that kind of mind thought of elaborating something more and more elaborate and complex. You know, I guess I kind of saw myself as an artist, whereas I know a lot of folks who got into writing, this was their entry point into understanding what the hell is art, anyways.
Yeah.
You know. Although, you know, I felt like this was something that I really gravitated for because of the social aspect of it and the action of doing it. I love that part. But I also knew that there was something artistic I wanted to bring to the scene, you know? There was that kind of balance for me.
And what about your politics? Like when you're bus hopping in 86, 87, were you, I mean, you're a high school kid, so, but you said that you had this political background because of your parents' activism.
Yeah.
Was that becoming a thing yet for you in high school? Were you starting to become kind of self-aware of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think politics means just relationships between people. You know, I think I was still kind of understanding that there's a way to treat people in the right one or the wrong way. And sometimes I would see some ugly stuff out there in the streets. You know, people that are writers, but then also get into some other, you know, street activities that maybe weren't so positive.
Yeah.
You know, and I tried not to get involved with that. Although, you know, I befriended a lot of people that were doing some nutball stuff. And so as it relates to graffiti, yeah, I mean, I certainly had some sort of mindfulness about where to hit up. You know, I kind of knew that, you know, you didn't want to write on a mom and pop store. You know, of course, there's those ethics. Everybody talks about, you know, personal cars or homes, churches, whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, respecting neighborhood establishments, you know, is something I was aware of, you know. Some folks really thought it was a straight-up war with Muni, and even at that, a straight-up war with Muni drivers. I didn't have that. You know, that mindset was like, no, that's fucked up. You know, my own father's a driver.
Right.
Why am I going to write all over his windshield? You know,
yeah,
like that's not cool to me. You know, so I had some set of right and wrongs that I kind of rode with, and I you know. As I got a little older, I tried to share that with some younger heads, you know, however much I thought it'd be helpful.
Throughout those years of high school, did you continue bus hopping and also piecing? And if so, like, were you starting to kind of branch out and go outside of your circles? Or were you keeping it in the Mission Excelsior for the most part?
Oh, man, I had that fast pass. I was everywhere.
Yeah.
I was everywhere. You know, that was the ticket. You know, I was going all over. We were going all over the place. It was all city type of thing.
And you were doing that with your HCT heads, with those kids.
HCT heads, yeah. You know, and then it was the thing of like when the weekend comes, automatically go to Psycho. You know, you're gonna see at least 30 different people down there, just like trading pictures or like you know, studying some of those books and watching people paint. Just being able to sit there and watch people paint. You know, go to Clockwork over Norfolk Alley. Those are just the spots where there were the normal. You gravitate to those areas to just go hang out and meet people.
And how about down there? Like, had you already done like larger scale pieces down there, or were you first going down to look and watch and meet people and trade flicks and stuff like that?
Here and there, you know. I mean, you know, of course, what's notable is Doug's Psycho City piece, and then you had who was next to him? Oh God, my mind. Quest and Deco. What was their crew's name? They had a wall right next to it. And Cuba had a piece down there, and there was also hit ups by Plato from Oakland.
That's an interesting point. I mean, you mentioned going kind of all city. You're trying to go all city with your fast pass. What about the East Bay? Had you been thinking about that? Were you saw that Play-Doh piece? Were you starting to
I mean,
wonder?
when we would find out word about a certain wall that had been done, like when the BAD crew was hitting up, or TWS was Risque, we had some new pieces in Chinatown. We were like, oh yeah, after school we're on the bus, we're going there. We're gonna go get those flicks. We're gonna go search and find out where these new places are, so we can go get the photos. Whether it be the avenues, or North Beach, go up to the Bay Street projects, and see all of Creole's new stuff or whatever. That was just the thing to do, and obviously, while we're over there, we're going to be looking up and see whatever stationery stories are around, so we can get the ink and markers from it.
Yeah.
So
well,
it was
you said
just
you
like
had that
noticing
SG.
where all the art stores are at. We were going to be raiding all of those spots,
Nice.
on our way.
And so that's actually interesting because it sounds like there was a pretty good communication system. Like everybody was talking about, like you mentioned that that Risque piece, that TWS piece in Chinatown. So people were talking, and you knew, and then you would go hunt it down.
Yeah.
Like that was part of your life.
Oh, we go hunt it down. Yeah. I mean, when folks were, let's see, when was the Best of Both Worlds? When Dream was, that was summer of '87, late summer. Yeah, he did that after he graduated high school. So when we heard about that, I was like, we're going to Oakland. Get on bar, go check that out. We heard word about it, And you meet people, you get their phone number, We used to remember phone numbers. I think, like everybody knows that we're from that generation. We used to remember phone numbers, and you just get info from folks,
And so how'd that go down? So the Best of Both Worlds production, you heard about it from someone, and so you went out to Oakland to check it out. Who'd you go with? Do you remember? Was it still with HCT heads?
HCT, Flash, Divine. I think Jams was maybe there.
And what'd you think?
Pony. I don't know.
When you got out there, what'd you think?
It was
of that
amazing,
production?
and then that's where I first met Dream. Yeah, it was early '87. No. Did I meet him before? He came to Cycle many times and painted. Yeah, he had a piece up in the Bay Street projects. But anyway, we got out there. That's where we all met Dream.
And what was that like for you to meet Mike?
Oh, just very, very positive, super humble, very welcoming. It's very, very much like down to earth. He just was the man of the spot. He commanded like respect. And he commanded respect of the territory there at the 23rd yard. Like you just don't go over stuff. You gotta like show and prove that you can match it or go over something that's already been kind of dissed or something.
Yeah. So did you meet him at that 23rd Street yard?
Did we meet him? Oh, you're pecking at my memory again. Yeah, probably.
Do you think that Dream saw something like that in you? Because I mean, we'll talk more about your relationship with him and your partnership with him, but what do you think there was between the two of you in that first meeting even? Or was there anything?
I mean, everybody looked up to Mike. He was just like the man with the style and a cool finesse about how he went about walking, about talking, about approaching, the things that he held. He was just like, he had a magnetic personality.
Yeah.
And he, it just felt comfortable. It was just good.
Do you also remember that particular Best of Both Worlds production? Do you remember that having an influence on your now new style or letters?
Oh, that just shocked everybody. Yeah, I mean, it actually took him over 2 weeks to complete. He kept going back there, and he was at a point in place and time with himself that he really wanted to like focus on his craft. He was painting a lot, And I guess when you get into that kind of artistic mode, there's a lot of, self-personal development that you're doing. And I guess in a similar kind of way, I guess that's kind of how we kind of gravitated toward each other. There was like a sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a falling out with other former friends or crews, but just kind of feeling like you needed to just like have your space to like develop yourself. And I don't know, at some certain point, I kind of got into that mode, and he was there with that kind of mindset too. I mean, Dream was a couple of years older than me, you know, so he was kind of an elder of the scene, you know.
Yeah.
He was more of that pioneer generation. Even though if he was around now, he'd probably tell you, "Oh yeah, no, I wasn't the first. It was this other person."
Right. Yeah. And so I'm in '87. Now you've met Dream. When you went back to
Spie
Frisco,
was on. Yeah, East Bay was on. In '87, I was actually honored to actually go out to New York, and I was put in touch with Django of Razor from up in Berkeley, and he gave me all these contacts up there to go meet up with Scene and Vulcan and all kinds of folks, and that just blew me. And
so you went to New York in '87. You're still in high school.
I was summer of '87. I was 15 years old, and I was just roaming around on the subways by myself.
Wait, so how did you go? Why were you in New York?
My father had to go out there, and he took me. He said, "Let's go." He said, well, he also told me I had to get at least a B or better in summer school. But
okay.
so I did that because I was like hypey. I was like, yeah, I want to go. So he took me out there. And,
that's dope. And like you said, Razor gave you a whole bunch of contacts, and so
contacts, yeah. So I went up to Westchester, the 6 line, was it 6 or 7 line or whatever, and checked out Scene at the record shop. He had the airbrush shop in the back.
Nice. This
little corner, and he was doing airbrush shirts for people. He introduced me to the late Zoom. He used to pay with Zoom. Zoom took me around to all these old places they painted. I mean, there's some paintings that are still existing from the early 70s, still up at that time.
Dope.
Zoom.
Did you say that you met Vulcan as well?
I tried to get in touch with Vulcan, but he wasn't around. But I never met. So I didn't get to meet him at that time. But what I do remember is standing in a station, seeing an express train go by, and seeing a huge Vulcan top to bottom. And then there was another thing that Vulcan did while I was out there that just blew my mind. I mean, I'm standing there at the station, and the train comes up, and I'm walking onto it. But this guy Vulcan. And Vulcan years later, told me that hardly anybody saw it. He went and cut out blocks for his letters of his name out of styrofoam and glued them onto the side of the train.
What?
And when I told him that, he was all surprised. He said, "You actually saw that?" I'm like, "Dude, I actually stepped on the train for a ride, and I had to take a dog take and come back out the door to look at it." And I said to myself, "What the fuck is that?" Yeah, he said at the end of the line, the workers kicked the letters off the side of the train. Sure. Because they stuck out of the train like, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches. These big styrofoam things. He was trying some experimental stuff.
And that was in '87, you said, yeah?
That was in '87, summer of '87 I saw.
Wow. And so I'm really curious then also what you took home from New York. I mean, you just told us a couple things I can imagine you took home. What else stylistically did you kind of take from New York and bring back to Frisco?
I just hung out all day up in the South Bronx, 180th station, just snapped flick after flick of all kinds of, Shane characters. Scent was up everywhere. Yeah, just a lot of, FBA stuff was still running. Just pretty profound stuff. I mean, I did the circuit of like trying to find Lee's handball courts in the Lower East Side,
nice.
And stuff like that.
Did you find them?
I did. I found there was another wall, the Martin Luther King wall. There was like plenty of hardware stores that had paintings on them. And, I found the one with the lion, and I went up into Keith Haring, the pop shop, went inside that place. It was kind of cool. It was like I was like really overwhelmed with how much stuff that was on the trains.
Yeah, dude, and that's pretty
One
amazing.
time I was, huh?
I was just gonna say that's pretty amazing that you had that exposure. I didn't know that you came out that early.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to make connections in my mind to pieces that I saw of yours in '89 and '90. That was really the first time that I came up to San Francisco and started to see your work. And now I'm trying to make connections between what you must have seen in New York and what you were doing then. Do you remember? I mean, you must have come home energized and super pumped and excited to show your friends all your flicks.
So many photographs.
Yeah.
I saw K2 pieces.
Nice.
Actually, I jumped down one rooftop coming out of a sub station over in Queens, I think it was, and snapping pictures of a Case 2 with a big dragon on it. It had all these MQ hit ups around it. And to come later on, knowing that MQ kind of set up home base in the Bay Area, so see him hit up. I found that very cool to see early MQ
definitely.
hit up.
Do you remember going back and talking with Dream about everything that you'd seen in New York? Did you come and show him flicks?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't really hanging out with Mike until probably '89.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple of years later.
And between
and then
those
years later, we were able to go to New York together. What year was that? 96. We were in New York together.
Mm-hmm.
We painted out a bunch of places. And
was that the year that you guys got put down in FC? 96.
Actually, before that, I got down in FC back in '92. Because I went out there. I went out there summer of '92 with the FM20 crew, with Mixmaster Mike and DJ Qbert and all of them at the New Music Seminar.
Nice.
We had a huge crew from the city, and we just were roaming and shocking the town. And the whole Knuckle Neck Tribe crew was out there doing dances, parties. But I was staying with Serge, TC5 FC up there. I befriended him a couple of years before because some of his family lives out here in the Bay. So when I went out there, I stayed with Serge, and he put me down with FC. And we rocked a quick piece on the what's that? The West Side Highway. Broad daylight.
Nice.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
Nice.
Cops were going by.
Really?
Yeah, we're gonna go over this big old JA piece. Like, oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
Don't tell him I don't know Jay.
Yeah, right. So.
He says, yeah, we're gonna go over here. I was like, really? All right, whatever.
And so then, that was '92. Did you help Dream get into FC? Did you put him down, or how did that work out?
Yeah, well, I think it was like a year later or something when Serge came back out, and then we painted at the yards, and he put Dream down with FC after that. So we became the kind of West Coast representatives of the FC.
Yeah, that was kind of new. There weren't a whole lot of like New York crews represented in the Bay Area in the early '90s. It started later, like in fact '92, '93 is probably when it started happening more. But that was pretty early. And man, Eric, there's just been, you have so much knowledge, and this conversation already has been like mind blowing. Truly, like some of the stuff you've said and some of the stuff that we've dug up. And so that's part one. And I hope that we'll be able to get you back on the phone in a few months or down into the year, and we can do a part two so we can catch up on, 1992 to 2017 Will you tell people?
Many stories.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
everybody's got their own versions too, and I mean that's what I love about the scene, the graph experience, is that there's so many different new layers to stories or different perspectives, and that's just me being a fan.
Yeah.
Even though I guess I feel like I get older, and sometimes I feel like, damn, am I semi-retired? Why aren't I painting? What the hell?
It's true. I mean,
work, family, and this and that and stuff. But I mean, it's the love of the the relationships and the
Yeah, and the art form,
yeah.
and it's worthy of this kind of preservation. It's worthy of our time to get these stories. And so I thank you, man, for spending the time today. Will you tell
Hey, thank
people?
you.
It's been an honor. Will you tell people where they can see your work online? I know you're on Instagram. Do you have any other places online where we can see your work?
Uh, yeah, I don't. I've yet to even ever set up my own website or anything.
Okay,
It's
well,
kind of
maybe
trying to
someone
be in the
will.
works, but
And you're Agent Decoy on Instagram, right? Is that one word? I can't remember.
I believe so.
Okay, Agent Decoy, at Agent Decoy on Instagram. Again, really honored, really thankful that you took the time. It's taken us a while to get you. I've gotten many. In fact, I've had more requests for Spy interview than anyone else so far. So I'm just like really happy now that we got it going. And sounds like you'll be down to do a part two sometime later down the year. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
man, it's been really really great and really illuminating. So thank you.
Right on, Adam. Do keep doing what you do, man. Because I'm really loving what you're pushing for new styles to come out,
Thank you. I
and
really appreciate that.